Golf Central, brought to you by TaylorMade.
Olympia Fields Country Club was founded in 1915. Its first club president was the famous college football coach Amos Alonzo Stagg. This week, it's the playing field for the first time to a FedEx Cup playoff event in the form of the BMW Championship. Let's get back to Tiger here. What does he need to do this week to either be better at or sharper to make it to Atlanta?
Well, everything George said is true, but you got to throw in the putting and chipping really has been very inconsistent. But so has other parts of his game. I mean, like times that he last week, on Sunday, I saw at least everything starting to look going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. It's tough with as few rounds as he's had competitively under his belt to actually, get into a rhythm and carry it over. And I think that's part of it. And I know I keep mentioning this, but I really do think, and he said it, the lack of fans. I mean, these guys, it helps them. It really does. When you're Tiger Woods and you're used to that many people cheering you up, even when your game's going a little bit awry, I think that Tiger Woods certainly is missing that. So that's not going to change. Yeah. But what is going to need to change is mainly his performance on the greens. And these greens, they got some slope to them. It's a big golf course, but I don't think it's likely that he makes it. I mean, I would be surprised if he ends up finishing fourth or better, which is what it looks like he's going to have to do. You never quite know with the permutations because there's so many different things. There's so many people inside the top 30 that could play poorly. I think fourth or better would certainly do it. Is he capable of it? Absolutely. He's Tiger Woods. Will it happen? I would say unlikely.
Last year he withdrew at the Northern Trust and then played the BMW the following week. So you'd have to go back to last February of 2019 when he played literally 4 rounds of golf in back-to-back weeks. What should be better? The repetition of playing a second consecutive week.
Well, I mean,
everything through the bag.
You saw signs on Sunday because it looked really good. Now, he was well under on the front nine and didn't close very well on the back nine to continue going low. And that was a golf course where everybody had their foot on the accelerator. And, even though he shot 6 under par, he was still 58th in the field, tied for 58. So, again, it's a mixed bag, Gary, but look, his swing does not look way off to me. It really doesn't look bad. So I don't think that's as far off as the putting and chipping. But Tiger, if anybody, he did try the other putter for a round, and he ended up switching that right back to the other one, the one that has been so successful. So to me, it's mainly I got to see some consistency on the greens and him kind of run the tables on these greens in Chicago.
Yeah, he was actually tied for 5th. He shot 66 in the second round of that 03 U.S. Open, then shot 75 on Saturday and shot himself out of contention. When you take a look at who is in the field here, well, we've got less than 70, but you have 8 of the top 10 in the official World Golf Rankings, including the newly minted, again, back to world number 1, Dustin Johnson. You've got 11 major champions, 4 FedEx Cup champions, and 7 winners of this event.
It's the playoffs. It's a bigger events, and, it's a time of the year where you want to play well, and you need to play well if you want to put yourself in contention or have a chance to win the FedEx Cup Championship. And so for me, it's I would just always put a lot of importance on our playoff events and getting ready for them and trying to play well in them just to improve my position going into the Tour Championship to try to become a FedEx Cup champion.
Dustin Johnson knows he has a tee time next week in Atlanta, but those players that are safe 25th to 35th in the FedEx Cup standings, they realize they have to play well this week at the BMW Championship if they want to see next week at the Tour Championship.
I've definitely been playing more consistent this year, so I've seen the improvements, kind of see where my game is going, and it's going in the right direction. So, like you said, last year I think I ended up around 60th something, mid-60s. And this year I played consistent enough to keep myself in it. So, again, that was the ultimate goal. And obviously this week I'm kind of on the bubble because of how the points run now for the playoffs. But, again, just play my game. I know this course decently well from college.
I'm 29 right now in the FedEx Cup and well aware that top 30 gets into next week, as most guys are. Coming down the stretch, I think if I was in 29 coming into the last couple holes, there's definitely going to be some pressure there, no question. But hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully I play well enough to give myself some type of cushion coming down the stretch.
I still got a chance. I still need to play some good golf this week to get in next week, but it could have been a lot worse. But just a little disappointed I missed a cut last week, but I just didn't have my golf game there. But this week, hopefully I can get my game back and get nice 4 rounds of golf, and so I can get into myself to next week.
My record's really good when I make it there every year. It's a course that fits my game really well, but I think the other added perk this year is that you qualify for Maui, you qualify for the Tournament of Champions Century, and I think that's an added perk. I'm not looking at just trying to secure my spot for Orlando. I'm looking to try and win this week and try and prove and try and get up there as much as I can, improve my number as much as I can, because just with the new system, it makes it vital to be higher up in the new structure of the FedEx Cup system that I think is really well done and really well received last year. So we'll see what happens this week.
You heard Billy Horschel mention Kapalua because of the truncated PGA Tour season we've had on account of COVID-19. Any player that plays their way into East Lake in the Tour Championship, they're exempt into the Century Tournament of Champions, so it could set up a unique scenario for, say, Ben An, who has yet to win on the PGA Tour, but if he makes it to the final leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs, could have that flight booked to Kapalua. A couple other players who are also in that scenario, Scotty Scheffler and Abraham Ancer, so something to keep an eye on this week at the BMW Championship.
George, thank you. It is time now for Players on the Rise, presented by Hyundai, and nobody has risen faster recently than Dustin Johnson. And when you consider how outstanding in every area he was, in particular greens and regulation, what he just did this past week at TPC of Boston, 65 of 72 greens hit in regulation, which produced that when you got to go back to 2 prior occasions when he hit 61 of 72 at that World Golf Championship that he won, did not win that prior time at that Tournament of Champions. If this is going to continue, it was weird because he won Travelers, and then Memorial happened, which was peculiar.
It was.
In a lot of ways. It wasn't just one round, it was 2 rounds. But if it does continue, is it iron play specifically that has just gone next level?
That, and you know what, when he was struggling, it was unusual, but now we find out it was some issues with his back.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. I mean, because some of the swings he was making, some of the shots he was hitting were very unlike DJ. And now that kind of puts that in perspective. But his iron game was spectacular, is an understatement, what it was last week. What he can do with the driver, we know that's a weapon. I mean, he actually drives the ball so beautifully. This golf course this week, huge advantage for him. Yeah. I mean, it's a long golf course. It's big. It's got some long holes on it, and DJ can shorten it quite a bit. And then you throw in the fact of how well he's hitting his irons, how confident he is. Look, I don't see any way that this is not a big argument for Player of the Year. I mean, we talked about it last week, like who's in the content. We were like, hey, we didn't really mention DJ.
No.
But he's in it now.
He is.
And I think he's the hands-down favorite right now to win the FedEx Cup because he sits at number 1. He's playing a golf course this week and a golf course next week that we know big hitters can do very well on. And the way he's playing, the way he can get on rolls and carry these things over, I think DJ is going to be the one that starts East Lake at 10 under par next week, and I think he's going to be the big guy to beat for that big prize at the end.
Yeah, hard to argue. Now, he's been so productive in the FedEx Cup era that we know he's always at East Lake. But this week, coming into the BMW Championship, the number of players that have an opportunity to make it to East Lake is significant, like 32 of them in the field who have never played in any, not one, Tour Championship. And that was George alluded to and Billy Horschel talked about. The added perk, and it's legit to know that you don't have to win the golf tournament or a golf tournament, but if you get to Atlanta, you're going to start your year in Maui, a small field, no cut. It is one of the great speakeasies of all time. You show up, they give you the chips, you play with somebody else's money.
Exactly, yeah.
Why did this happen this year?
Well, it's coronavirus. I mean, it's the pandemic. Look, the strange year that is 2020, if you look at what happens now, I mean, they've played, including opposite events. Before the pandemic hit, before the players, there were 23 official events, including opposite field events.
Yeah.
And now there have been 35. Typically, they're 44. But, so you say, well, that's only 9 difference, so that's not that big a difference. Huge difference.
Yeah.
We have only had one major championship. Normally we have all four.
That's correct.
You've got all the big ones in there. So that's why these guys are sitting pretty in there. And no players was canceled. So again, that's where these top players elevate themselves. So I definitely think that's the reason why. And these players, they're taking advantage of it, so hats off to them.
The top 10, the average starts of the guys in the top 10 of the FedEx Cup standings, just a shade over 16 starts. I took 10 players of those 32, average starts 23,
Yeah.
making your point
Yep.
exactly.